getting hit multiple times. Coming out of that bike section, more drivers coming to blows.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Slow Motion Broadcasting. The lights are shining, the atmosphere is electric, and one of motorsport's most exciting destinations is ready for another night of racing. Miami, where speed, precision, and spectacle come together at the Miami International Autodrome, surrounding the iconic Hard Rock Stadium. This circuit offers everything drivers could ask for: long straights, heavy braking zones, and technical corners that reward confidence while punishing mistakes. In the Florida heat, managing tires and maintaining focus become just as important as outright speed. Welcome to Miami. Bienvenido a Miami. I'm joined by producer Josh Wilkie in the truck and the legend Ron Maunz. Ron, what's your favorite color and why is it teal?
I love me some teal, actually. It's actually the color of my 1985 Oldsmobile. I love it. I love this track as well. You know, it's a funky little vibe that we've got around this place. When I initially heard way back in 2017 that F1 wanted to come to Miami, although that original proposal that they had for the racetrack down in the downtown by the park that Champ Car used to race at way back in the day, I wasn't too sure about that. And although this track that we have here around Hard Rock Stadium is a bit on the flatter end. It has some tacky bits. That fake marina still sticks out like a sore thumb to me. I think the actual track layout itself is quite the challenge for these drivers. Of course, a host of the Formula One Miami Grand Prix the past couple of years, now host for round number 1 of this all North American tour that we have got here in season number 3 of 2026 here in the Sim Racers Group F4 series. This is one heck of a track to start this season off.
Yeah, I think that this track itself is a little bit controversial for the SRG F4 League. The F4 League is a developmental league by Sim Racers Group, a business out of California that runs a league. And Ron, these are relatively low downforce cars, and the track itself has got some very long straights. It's got some highly technical corners and some fast corners. Got a little bit of everything. How do you think the F4 is going to fare as we watch some of the qualifying here?
Yeah, I think these F4s will probably be able to take to this track like a duck to water. It is definitely going to be a challenge in some of the more technical parts of this track. They're going to have to slide around, get the back end out a little bit. You mentioned the kind of dynamics of these cars, and as a past driver yourself, you can speak more to the dynamics of racing with some of the drivers that we still have returning here in this series. You've got the low downforce. It's basically a go-kart with plank on the front and the back of the race car to stick it down to the road and make it look more like an official race car. You're sliding your way through the turns, whether it be the slow sort of menagerie section right by I-95 here, that really fiddly chicane, or whether it be some of the fast sweepers right at the start of this lap. This is a real tough ride for these cars. They're going to have to worry about a lot, these drivers. So this is definitely going to be one of the more challenging races for the entirety of this season, and it's quite the test for it to be the first hurdle.
Yeah, everybody's all excited to show off their brand new liveries out there. It looks like we have Jason Chess, a new person to the SRG scene, on top, and he is followed by Henry Ryback, another new person to the SRG scene. So one of the funky twists of this developmental league is that if you are dominating the league, then you are unceremoniously handed your hat at the end of the season. Such was David Borden. I was sort of given a pretty strong encouragement that I think I was done, and I believe that Nathan Perkins has also moved on. So there is some room at the top. There is a few friendly faces out there. There we see the Taco Bell car right there, a fan favorite of Greg Myers. But we have Jose Navas Molina back. We have Jacob Guyton back. Jacob Guyton, I would say, is a strong contender, not knowing what's going on with Jason Chess and Henry Ryback. Jacob Guyton was fourth last season, I believe. Trantham, Eggert, Yee, Damian Dietrich pulled off a podium at the end of last season. There's Jacob Guyton right there. Brand new livery with that those fantastic pastel colors. What do you think Guyton's chances are this year, Ron?
Yeah, I think Jacob Guyton has a fantastic opportunity to do well here in Season 3 throughout the summer in the Sim Racers Group F4 Championship. We think back to some of the performances that he put on the last season, able to get some good podiums, some solid results, and some really good speed. The one problem that he had, and I say this not in a disparaging tone, I know he's a very quick driver, but there were times throughout that season where he was about as consistent as expired mayonnaise. If you can work on that consistency and try and get a bit more of a steady form here this season, I think he will be a very quick driver and maybe a bit of a thorn in the side for some of those newcomers looking to try and punch up into championship contention.
I would say so. David Borden walked away with it a little bit at the beginning and middle of the season. He racked up a few consecutive wins and ended up so far ahead on the points that he took a little bit of time off at the end and still managed to put together a pretty convincing championship run. I ended up squeezing out second, despite SRG and Slow Motion Broadcasting best efforts to put me into third on the last broadcast. Nathan Perkins, I beat by, I believe, a point overall in the season. But Jacob Guyton, You talk about the consistency and the inconsistency. I think that it was more of an on-off switch, and he started the season in a fairly off position, handing out a couple sixths. I think he had like 3 sixths in a row, and then all of a sudden he decided that he wasn't going to do the endurance racing as much. He wasn't going to dabble. Let me rephrase that. It was mostly the F3. He still did quite a bit of endurance racing, but he sort of stopped jumping between the F4 and the F3 Advanced League and really focused on the F4, and man, did that show. He started to be very, very good. Now, I don't know about Jason Chess and Henry Ryback. I know that Henry Ryback has got some speed, and I believe, from what you can see here, Jason Chess has put up a 2-minute flat, a 2-minute 7, which is going to be about 0.5 faster than Ryback right now, and almost 0.8 faster than third place Navas Molina. So it looks like Guyton's not going to have a walk away with the championship just because a couple people left the league.
Yeah, no, it's not going to be an easy road. This is one of the more competitive fields that we have got in this championship. Looking through, it's a very versatile field. You got new drivers looking to try and impress, some new names really standing out here in this qualifying session, some returning names looking to impress, and other drivers that we see a decent amount of here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, just in some other machinery. Of course, as we saw towards the end of the season, Stevie Ray is still with us here, currently qualified in 11th, as here is another one of the Ray Esports Weekend Warriors drivers. It is a real-life Formula V racer, part of Formula V royalty in the SCCA, Brian Stasinski here in the always poppy green and blue machine as he heads his way off through the first sector. Only recently got experience running with wings. Yeah, look at that.
Oh my goodness. Yes, there's a couple other names that are worth mentioning here. Dan Clark is an endurance racer that we haven't seen much of in quite a while. Sort of working on his ergonomics with a bit of a knee and back issue, but he's out for the F4 races tonight. Andre Ruiz is a familiar face. Robin Park is new to the SRG community. Ken Glasser, always good to see Ken out there. One of the I guess, I'm not sure necessarily that he's an owner of SRG, but he's there enough. I think you probably could make him an honorary one, and that is Tyler Hagan. And then Rudy Samudio on the board there. You know, a guy that I wanted to mention is Christopher Yee. Christopher Yee came out, and there's a bit of a structure to this, and maybe our producer, Josh, could speak a little bit to this. There's a structure to these leagues at SRG, and that is there's a rookie division with the Formula Fords, and then the F4s and the F3s. Christopher Yee was a guy that showed tremendous promise in the Formula Fords. Josh, you've had a chance to speak with the captain, Jason Cotcher. How is this sort of format put together?
Yeah, well, thanks for bringing me in, guys. You know, just down here in the pit lane walking around, you run into people every once in a while, and having a chat with Jason Cotcher there the other day, and it turns out here, you know, it's pretty cool, SRG, that they actually are a brick and mortar, right? So, you know, a little different to some of our leagues that we do out here. A lot of these drivers are actually sitting at the sim center in some rigs, as well as some at home. And, you know, the way the series sort of works is you're going to start out in an FF car, you're going to move to an F4, and then you're going to end up in an F3. And as we were talking about before, you know, sometimes you're actually going to sort of get handed your hat at the end of the season there. So as you perform and as you do better, and as the drivers around you bring you up through these ranks, you're going to be able to move into some faster machinery as well. And then things like damage will be turned on, and races get a little bit longer, maybe some heat races and stuff. So it's a pretty cool thing they have going down there. And we've you know, been a part of it here at SMB, watching these drivers come through, you know, what I like to call sort of a feeder series on its way to F3, and then who knows beyond that. So pretty cool stuff, James, and thanks for bringing me in.
Ron, it's almost a bit of a Dunning-Kruger effect. I experienced it this week where I started to get behind the wheel of the F3 a little bit more seriously, and I realized that everybody around me is significantly talented, and I felt like I was kind of at the bottom of Mount Stupid again. Have you had that kind of experience with sim racing at all, moving around the different machinery?
Well, I have felt kind of being at the bottom of Mount Soup, but I felt that most of the time when I was in school. But in terms of being behind the wheel, there is definitely a significant jump to go from one rung of the ladder to the other here in the SRG world. The FF1600, a car that I've gone to cover for many, many moons now, between the Weekend Warriors ranks, briefly covered the iRacing Official Series. Those cars handle in a very specific way. No wings, you have to rely on the mechanical grip, very thin tires. You go to these F4 cars, it's a step into more kind of sophisticated, modern open wheel competition. Then you go into those F3s, which despite the fact that that chassis was long since retired, F3 racing, as it was known back in 2017, when that Dallara was made and added into iRacing, kind of went away when what was GP3 was renamed into F3, the second from top rung on the F1 Junior Formula ladder. But although that car is slightly outdated, that is still top tier machinery. It's still one of my first loves on iRacing. I adore that F3 car, but to go from the F4 into the F3 is a significant jump. It's significant in terms of the mechanical grip, significant in terms of the power. The driving dynamics are totally different, and it produces a pretty significant amount of downforce as well. Although this is one of those tracks that the F3s have driven at, as well as these F4s making their first appearance here, it is still going to be quite the transition and quite the jump for these drivers that are going to get used to the F3s a little bit later on here this week, and even for these drivers just running in F4s, trying to get their feel around this place right now at the end of qualifying.
Yeah, one of the individual drivers that we didn't get to mention was Pranay Ketneni. He is driving, I believe, an orange livery out there. He managed to qualify 11th, but it looks like our grid is more or less getting set. There's a very brief wait here after qualifying until we run the red lights, and it looks like at the top of the bracket here, Jason Chess, with his first appearance on SRG, has managed to get pole, which is very, very impressive. Henry Ryback in second, and Navas Molina, a veteran of the F4, has managed to pull off that third place. Jason Trantham is going to be joining Navas Molina on that second row as well. So that's an impressive run for Jason Trantham. Jason Trantham is a driver that's he's always in the conversation. He's had a little bit of difficulty with some of the penalty points in the past, but that's something that's worth mentioning here, Ron. This is, in fact, a stewarded league, and so if you make a mistake that costs another driver, time, or probably more likely a significant injury, even though the damage is off in this, you can get an email or a Discord message from the stewards, and it can come by way of starting from a pit lane, missing race, loss of championship points on some of the more egregious fouls. It's different, and the drivers themselves wanted this stewarding system. I would say that it's worked out pretty well, Ron.
Yeah, that's one thing that is a little bit tricky to try and enforce on iRacing, especially compared to real life racing, because real life, there is a little thing called self-preservation. On iRacing, although you do run the risk of maybe snapping the wheel out of your hands and maybe tweaking your wrist a little bit, I know I've done that a couple of times, even with my old Logitech G920 that I have, it is still not really something you have to worry about in sim. So you do have to kind of crack the whip a little bit, make sure these drivers are on the tight ship. So we'll keep an eye on that throughout this season, because end of grid penalties usually end up being the norm whenever drivers do pick up that. But you mentioned a bit earlier on, James, let's take a look at the first starting grid of the season.
You bet. Jason Chess and Henry Ryback will be in your front row. Navas Molina, Trantham in row 2. In row 3, we've got Stasinski and Dietrich with a strong finish last year. Jacob Guyton will be in row 4 with Greg Meyer, Eggert and Yee in 5. Ketneni and Stevie Ray will be in row 6. As we move down the list, Dan Clark will be with Andres Ruiz in 13 and 14. Robin Park and Ken Glass are next to each other. Rudy Samudio, Tyler Hagan, and Ken Estep will be finishing out the grid, and we are getting awfully close. It looks like everybody is all gridded up. We're going to see whether or not we see the lights here. Slow Motion Broadcasting is going to bring you Miami here with the Sim Racers Group F4s. This is going to be a fast and furious one, and hopefully these guys can keep their tires underneath them. I'm a little bit worried about this first chicane, turns 1, 2, and 3. That complex can be pretty wild. I think we're hearing the engines rev up, and woof, look at those liveries. Those are impressive. Some of these are very, very new and very fancy, and people are all excited to see them here.
And still waiting for a few more drivers to line up on that starting grid, specifically waiting for your 5th place starter of Brian Szynski. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do in a non-V as we're waiting for that green flag to come out.
Yep. Let's look for the lights. We can hear them rolling up. Nobody's got any grid penalties starting the year. And oh, we are off right now. Lights out, drop the clutch. We are racing in Miami, and it looks like Jason Chess and Henry Ryback are out first here. Ryback is going to go, and he's going to manage to take the inside there. It is going to be tight. I don't see any collisions. It looks like we might have had a clean race there. Oh, look at that. Jason Chess and Trantham is now in the conversation. All sorts of good chaos at the front here with no real damage, Ron.
Yeah, no real damage there. Smooth as they head their way through the end of the first sector. Jose Navas was already sticking his nose into some side-by-side battles. Actually briefly went 3 wide at the start of this race. Drivers still looking to find their footing here at the drop of the green flag on this slightly greasy racetrack. We'll touch on that here in a couple of moments' time. In the meantime, though, it's a smooth start for Jason Chess, your pole man, who still leads him heading down the back straightaway with Jason Trantham and Henry Ryback directly behind.
Yeah, Jason Chess is off to a fantastic start in that teal one there. It looks like we have some movement here, though, and Trantham has managed to use that incredibly long straight. And, oh, it's going to be tough around that corner. Yep, he doesn't manage to hold on to it. Jason Chess is going to go into first place there. Novice Molina still in third, Guyton in fourth, Greg Meyer in fifth, Szynski in sixth, and Christopher Yee has pulled up 3 spots into 7th, and I think we have someone into the wall. It could be Eggert. Is that right there? We've got Eggert into the wall. We'll take a look at that in a second, but we are onto the back straight here, and it is Trantham and Chess going neck and neck, trying to eke out a few miles an hour here, and Trantham is just ahead. He is on the inside. We're going to see whether or not he can pull off this corner, Ron.
Ooh, and Navas piling in, not going to work. Contact there. Guyton also gets collected in that as well. They keep it back up and rolling, so not a complete stop for any of those drivers, but a shuffle up in the front. Navas just locking it up big time there into the turn, and all of that. Jason Trantham going to escape with the race lead.
Holy cow, we are definitely going to want to put that one on replay when you get a chance, Mr. Producer Josh, because that was pretty wild. I saw Novice Molina stick his nose in the middle of that, in the middle of the Trantham and Jason Chess sandwich there, and that was not what Jason Chess was looking for. He ended up being the big loser in that one, unfortunately. Let's take a look at this. We're going to be following Jason Chess here. Chess on the outside, Trantham, and there's Novice, and oh my goodness, I don't know if anyone honestly is at fault on that one, Ron. It just looked like everybody wanted to be the last person to break.
Yeah, no, the problem with this turn is it just bottlenecks so bad as you head your way in there. So it was a mix of a lockup there from Trantham, kind of stacking up the field, and Navas sensing an opportunity and trying to go for the cutback. Just did not work out, misjudged it a little bit, and the process of that. He's given himself a podium spot, but this is still a hornet's nest that we have at the end of the straightaway. Look at Szynski hopping up the curb, making contact with he and Greg Meyer, and more drivers piling in. That right there, I believe, was Ryback that sent Szynski around.
Szynski was sideways on the track, and in Miami, that is not where you want to be. Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. This is absolutely not what Jason Cotcher wants to see right now. He is having a stroke. I can just sense it, and it is absolute chaos out there. What corner of the track are we at there? Oh, my goodness. That's the 13, 14, 15 complex at the end, and it's so tight, and you have to come around and get on the gas right away, and everybody wants to do it, and it looks like nobody was able to do it. I don't even know how you're going to show us a replay of that. There was about 9 different incidents. My event tracker here has got Hagen crashing, Smudio crashing, Eggert crashing, Clark crashed, Stasinski crashed 9 times and was hit 14 times by other cars and was sideways. That was just unfortunate and tragic. Thankfully, and this is both a blessing and a curse, the damage is in fact off. So some of the drivers feel like they can maybe push it a little bit further than what they should probably do, I would say, Ron.
Yeah, they've definitely been adventurous, I think is maybe the other way that we could sum it up as we take a look at the first gaggle of replays. That was the incident for Stasinski, as not only does he make contact there with Meyer, he gets hit. That was Jason Chest there, the other driver involved. I apologize. I said that was Henry Ryback to start. Ryback, though, did get involved in an incident a couple of turns later. Been doing that recently on broadcast. I've misidentified a car who ended up crashing only a few moments later, so I do apologize to Henry, as there you can see Jason Chest getting spun around, and from there it just stacked up. Here is a perspective of Ryback in the 111. There's a contact. He does a sympathy spin as right in front of him, Chess and Meyer came to blows all through the chicane. You brought up a good point there, though, James, talking about that section of the racetrack as they head their way under the highway overpasses right by the Florida Turnpike. That section is about as tight as a pair of spandex underwear. It is so brutal as you head your way through here. Even in these little go-kart F4 cars, it is a tight squeeze.
Yeah, that complex is, it starts with 11 after the long straight there, and it goes into 12 and 13 with the North Beach Grandstand. But 14 and 15 are as tight a 2-turn set as anywhere outside of Monaco, I would say, for Grand Prix. And you come out of that, and you're going in first at about 10 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden you hit 16, which is a turn onto this incredibly long back straight, and so everyone wants to gas it there. And in an F4, you really can. You can get away with some stuff by hammering on that throttle, but with torch tires in Miami heat, it's not a perfect system. And if you end up going into the back of the guy in front of you, then you get a bit of an accordion effect, which is what we saw there, which is really unfortunate for these guys.
Yeah, one of the points that I was going to raise a bit earlier on in this broadcast is just how darn hot the track is. Not only is the action hot out there as Stasinski and Ryback side by side all through the S's, this could maybe end in tears. It's tight. Stasinski having a back out of it, and smart call there. He's a racer in Formula V's. He knows what it's like to try and keep momentum rolling in some slightly slower race cars. Even though these cars have wings, they're still kind of Formula V-esque, even though the last time that I saw Formula V's and Formula 4's together here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, it ended in tears for many, so we'll just leave it off at that. Josh in the production truck can get that reference for the 49th Weekend Warriors runoffs this past weekend, as riding on board with Ken Glasser and Stevie Ray, looking further around the outside at the end of the back straightaway. Battle last late breakers heading down to the turn. Stevie crowding in down there on the bottom, close to the curb, trying to make something work heading through this stadium section, and he's going to be able to just barely clear him. Actually, no, finally he does. Heading off into the chicane. I was worried that they're going to continue in that side-by-side battle, but they finally... Oh, no! Right as I say that, Glasser snaps around, heading out of the chicane, and more drivers trying to pile in. Thankfully, dives out of the way to try and avoid drivers piling into the side of him. But before all that broke out, I was just going to say, track temperature is at 93 degrees at the moment, which is quite toasty to the point of being a little bit greasy here for these cars. It's also in Florida, so humidity is at 72%, which by Miami standards is actually fairly dry.
We got a podium battle right here. We've got Novice Molina, who has just managed to squeeze by Guyton. These long straights are just so draft heavy. And it looks like, yes, Novice Molina is going to be going on the outside there, inside outside, and has managed to make that turn. That's a great move for him, because he's going to go into some fast corners. We're going to see if he's going to hold it, though, because after these fast turners here, you're going to get right back onto a very long looping left, and then we're going to be going into another straight. So it's all about the exit right here, and we're on board with Christopher Yee, a momentum racer out of those Formula Fords. We're going to see if he gets the exit he's looking for. And, oh, frankly, I think that's not too bad. You know, something that's actually panned out here, Ron, is that a lot of the veterans of SRG are right back at the top of the leaderboard. We're being led by Trantham up 3 positions, Novice Molina's up 1, and Jacob Guyton up 4 positions. Christopher Yee, the guy I told you to watch out, up 6 positions. We're on board with Greg Meyer now up 3 positions, and he's in 5th place. So the famous names of SRG F4 are rising to the top of this.
Yeah, really the only newer drivers that we've got running up towards the front are from 6th through to, well, really 6th all the way through to 10th. You've got Damian Dietrich, Stevie Ray, Henry Ryback, Brian Szynski, and Pranay Ketaneni, all of which are in their sophomore seasons here in this series, either their first full-time or their second full-time. Stevie, though, we know that he's, an iRacing veteran, the founder and leader of the Ray Esports Weekend Warriors World. He did not take kindly to when I said this on the 10-year anniversary broadcast for the Spec Racer Fords about a half a year ago, when I told him that I was about 11 years old on the first Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors race. He was not a fan of that news, and I can't necessarily blame him, as Christopher Yee and Jacob Guyton currently side by side as they head their way onto the start-finish straightaway. This is a fight for 3rd.
Yeah, Jacob Guyton has managed to get by Christopher Yee, but oof, getting close on that braking zone there in 1. That 1, 2, 3 complex is an easy place for a crash to happen. It happened to me in the F4 league, I believe. No, it was in the F3 league. That 1, 2, 3 complex can get really squirrely because everybody wants to take it flat, and it's just very, very difficult to do. Because you're going to come into a hard braking zone right here, and you're going to have to brake a little bit, but you want to get right back on the throttle because it exits out into super fast corners that you can take almost flat out in an F4 all the way to the heavy left there. Tyler Hagen is one of those people that you get the Discord message from if you've misbehaved. But one of the cardinal sins, and I thought that the racers did a pretty good job of this despite the chaos at the beginning, one of the cardinal sins for SRG is the improper re-entry. So if you do get involved in something and you are facing the wrong way, don't spin your car and jump right back into it. It looks like Greg Meyer with a great move there on Damian Dietrich. I thought the drivers did a pretty good job with that, don't you, Ron?
Yeah, I think they've been able to play things well so far here in this race. I will say, though, they've had a pretty big swing. You can see there in the bottom of your shot as they headed their way through the chicane. Jason Trantham is in this battle, and he was in the race lead at the start of this lap. Things have gone massively awry for the driver of the number 28 car. Now, he's heading his way off through the Titan Twisties where things have gone wrong.
Oh.
Now, there's contact there with himself and Jose Navas, and a bad rejoin right as we were talking about it. Gets T-boned there by Jacob Guyton. Oh, dearie me. It was battling that was going so well for so long that goes so badly so quickly. Here it was. Navas went for the dive, and I gotta say, just the way that I'm seeing it, Trantham definitely reactionary as he headed his way down in there, trying to block him off there and crowd him there on the inside line as they headed their way through the Titan Twisties, and really, you just can't get away with that.
I think
There
Trantham closes the door here. Novice tries to go the inside. Oh man, that's tough. He didn't have that line there, and Trantham comes in. That's probably Trantham's to do, but he's got to know that Novice is somewhere around there. That's a tough one to steward. I don't know how you call that one. Just unfortunate for both sides. Novice definitely put his nose in when he didn't have it, and Trantham closed the door when he should have known that Novice was there. And that's kind of the way that those things go. But I will say this, Trantham had a terrible, terrible re-entry on that, and so probably will catch the ire of the stewards no matter what happens. That one's going to cost him a little bit. We're going to get another shot of it here, and let's take a look, Ron, what you think about this. Oof. Novice has it, and then he slows up, and there's the re-entry, and it catches Guyton.
And I think the way that I see the initial incident, at least, as a little bit deja vu here. Damian Dietrich fighting down the inside of Greg Meyer, heading off through the Titan Twisties right now. He is unable to get that move done, still holding in 2-6. The way I see that initial incident, though, and this is just kind of looking at the overhead view, I think Trantham should have probably stayed his line. It's a very odd approach as you head your way in through the Titan Twisties. curved braking zone, very challenging part, and you're at the end of the longest straightaway as well, so it's the heaviest braking zone by far, and the best overtaking opportunity too. But he kind of moved over to the side there. You could see him on the right-hand side of the track, move farther left, crowding Jose Navas there, and that's part of the reason why he slowed up. He didn't think that he would have space there on the inside line, but I think just a pretty bad miscommunication going on there. Maybe a little bit touch and go with what was going on there. As Greg Meyer has set himself off into the runoff area. Unfortunately, though, for the Taco Bell car, his bell has been rung.
Yeah, unfortunately for Meyer, I was going to comment on Meyer. He looked like he was getting a little bit loose in the back end, moving around some of those previous turns. Ooh, I don't know. Was there contact there from Damian Dietrich? Yeah, he might have had a little bit of help on that one. So let's take a look here at, we're riding on board with Dietrich here on the 444. And, oh yeah, Dietrich definitely ate Meyer's lunch right there. And that is not what you're looking for if you are Meyer. He braked in a braking zone and was hit pretty much square on. And when you are on the limit of those brakes, you cannot get tapped like that. That's truly unfortunate. So my apologies, Greg Meyer, for saying that you were getting a little bit hot with the tires. That one wasn't on you. Well, I'm pretty sure there'll be a Discord message in the inbox for Damian Dietrich.
Well, I will say here, James, and this is honest, that would not be the worst. That would not be the first time that somebody's had, rear end troubles talking about Taco Bell. I think everybody, I'll be here all week, try the veal.
Let me guess, you just flew in from Miami and your arms are incredibly tired. That's right.
Stasinski just fired off into the runoff area. He overshot the braking marker by a country mile and immediately toes. Stasinski going from one side to the other. Let's take a look at this here. He came in like a wrecking ball.
Let's see here. Where's Stasinski on the map? Oh, yeah. Oh, goodness. And he's way off. He might need a tow to get back to the race course there. That's unfortunate. On board with, we're watching Stevie Ray come around here. Stevie Ray, just a great story, a great individual. Had a chance to go out to SRG and spend some time with Cotcher and Hagen and the boys out there, and really, really enjoyed it. It's just a class act all the way around, and that red, white, and blue livery there, the chrome, can't be mistaken. He is. He's managed to put together a few very good races here, Stevie Ray, and he's running 6th right now behind Ryback, who's climbed his way right back into it. Even though Ryback is down 3, Stevie Ray's up 6 spots.
I like that little wordplay there. Ryback crawling his way right back through the field. That's I like that. That's right out of my school of broadcasting right there, James. As we look at the battling right now, this is right towards the tail end of your top 10. It's Andres Ruiz and Bob Eggert side by side through the braking zone. Eggert gets that spot. Nice move there. As despite all of the craziness that we've had so far here in this race, only 3 drivers dropping out of the 19 that have taken the green flag, and we are getting to the end at the minute 17 mark. Jose Navas only a few laps away from victory to start off the season on the best foot forward.
Yeah, it's been a pretty impressive race here. I was just going to kind of ask you to take a look at some of the incident counts here to see where we were at for some of these drivers here. There is a cap to some of the stuff, and I worry a little bit that we might be approaching some of the limits of what these guys are capable of. Navas Molina, though, has managed to put together, despite all the chaos around him, a pretty impressive run, and it looks, honest to God, like he is just stretching on Christopher Yee. The interval now is 2.8, and Navas is kind of running away with it. The field tends to stretch out a little bit with these F4s at this point. Once you can get yourself some clean air and get some good corners, then the people that are really fast tend to just sort of walk away with it. So Guyton is very impressive here. Ooh, this is a tough battle here with Glasser, and we got Robin Park involved in it. But Navas Molina, I think, unless something chaotic happens in the next minute and a half, you could be looking at a Navas Molina win here with a Christopher Yee in 2.
Yeah, and Jose Navas, who's been around in the F4s for many, many moons now. I remember nearly a year ago, producing a lot of the F4 broadcast during the season when Jose Navas was just tearing it up, getting a decent amount of wins and some good results as well. Never really worked out for the championship, but still a good result. As do want to give some love here to Ken Estep behind the wheel of the number 66 car, Spider-Man themed machine. See, it's red, white, and blue, so I'm always a fan, but the Spider-Man car adds in a little extra, adds in some extra something there.
Oh, that's impressive. And like I said at the beginning of this, the liveries are just, everyone's excited for their new seasonal liveries. And Enrique Vela has done quite a few of them for the SRG community. But you look at some of these cars and it's just great. And we always do like to show some love to the middle and the back half of the field here, as you see Robin Park. And I believe that is Tyler Hagen, pardon me, Ken Glasser right there. So we are on board with Robin Park, and that's Ken Glasser in front. Oh, looks like Robin missed the turn there. That's unfortunate, but Ken Glasser, a veteran to SRG, and Robin takes a yellow there. It has been, there's your white flag there. So it looks like we're going to have one more lap here. And there's Trantham with a spin. Oh, no. Trantham. Just an unfortunate series of events for him, and he is out at this point, so that's tragic. But we have Navas Molina we're looking at here. Navas Molina with a 1.6 second interval coming around the stretch there, and it looks like it is going to be Jose Navas Molina taking the win here. Christopher Yee behind him, and Jacob Guyton is going to be your podium for today. Ron, this is a pretty impressive race out of Navas Molina there.
Yeah, a good race from Navas, and some good pace throughout it as well. Looking at those last laps right towards the end of the race, he was able to take it easy on his last lap. He set a 2:04.2, which compared to his best of a 2:01.1, yeah, he was definitely taking it easy on that lap. But he had every right to. He could, as what a fight there towards the end. Stevie Ray just gets a nose out over Greg Meyer in that fight for fifth. Really no battles as we had our way across the stripe for the rest of the field, but a pretty competitive and pretty wild start to this season. You know, James, heading off into this race, I don't think either of us really knew what Miami was going to have in store here for these F4 drivers. If there's one thing that did bring, it's chaos.
Yeah, they didn't listen to my instructions. I popped into their group before the race and I said, now remember, no murders in Miami. And well, I don't think that they really took that to heart, because I would say that lap one is not exactly the race that SRG wanted to put forth as a showcase for their league. Unfortunately, they take great pride in fast and clean racing, and we did see some of that. I'll make note and say that Greg Meyer made a few particularly good moves out there, and it was a very fast and clean racer out there, but just not quite the level of I guess clean racing that we would normally expect out of SRG for this first one. But nonetheless, there you have it. There is Jose Navas Molina in first place right there, taking his victory lap. They will come around and they will do some donuts at the start and finish line and get the classic picture all lined up.
Yeah, and these drivers go rightfully own their spots on the podium. It was a challenging race to try and tackle here for this opening race of the season. I mean, looking at the other races that we have coming up here in Season 3 of 2026, we're going to be immediately heading off to Mexico City, Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, for the next round of the championship in 1 week's time. That's going to be another challenging one, but then from there, Road Atlanta, Lime Rock. We're actually going to be going to Lime Rock a little bit later on this season, but then from Lime Rock in round 4, it's Interlagos, Watkins Glen, VIR, Portland, Summit Point, Road America, Lime Rock again with the chicanes this time around, Laguna Seca as well. Some rain races in the midst. It is going to be a really, really fascinating run throughout the summer here, and you'll be able to catch the action live here on Slow Motion Broadcasting as we have a little accident as we get the donuts going. Oh dear.
Those are Jose's donuts, Jacob. You get out of the way.
He wants to be a part of the fun.
I would say so. I mean, it is going to be a a great season. The F4 season is always a mix of big Grand Prix tracks and very small go-kart tracks, and that's kind of the beauty of this particular car, is that it's capable of doing both. This Miami track was a bit of a challenge for some of these drivers today. Mexico City will be another challenge for them. It's a little bit more forgiving, Mexico City, because there are less walls everywhere, but at the same time, Mexico City does offer quite a few challenges by way of corners and high speed, and heat, I would say, is always the enemy of the sim racer out there. I think we're going to line up a few interviews here, so we're going to see who we have in the waiting booth here, and it looks like we've got a couple podium people ready for us. If our producer is ready to pull them in, we'll start to say hello to them. Yeah, why don't we pull somebody in here, and we'll see who we get, and we can ask them how their race was.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. James, I think I will ask you if you'd like to have a chat with our race winner of Jose Navas. That sound like a plan?
Absolutely. Jose Navas Molina, you are the first winner of the SRG Season 3. Congratulations. It was a bit of a chaotic lap 1 and lap 2. How did you view the race out there?
Yeah, it was challenging. Luckily, all the practice that I've been doing was on super hot track, so when it was a little bit cooler, it was a little bit nicer to drive. But yeah, like first lap was very interesting. I have to apologize for the touch on the last corner of the first lap. I think I may have killed someone, so I do want to apologize. I don't remember who it was, but I do want to apologize for that touch. But yeah, and then the rest of the race was just a matter of trying to focus and keep doing my laps, because I knew I had pace to catch to Trantham and then go for it.
Yeah, it was very impressive. I believe that the incident that happened was with Trantham, and was it Ryback that was in there? I can't recall exactly, but it was a 3-person corner, and things got a little dicey, and you were in the middle. There was another incident with Trantham where Trantham kind of shut the door on you at the same time that you tried to put your nose in the corner. So it was tough. It was tough racing out there, I would say. You mentioned the heat, though, that we were running a track temperature, something like 95, and you mentioned how cool it was. So whatever you were practicing in must have been absolutely torching. But you're right. You did have the pace to be able to make this race work.
Yeah, so I was practicing around 110, 111 track temps, which is pretty normal on this track. So I was very surprised to see like the 90 something that we had during the race. Actually, in practice for this session, it was also very hot. It cooled down for qualifying and the race, so that was thankful. And in terms of pace, I do have to thank Steven Case. I did some coaching with him, so he was very helpful and helped me to improve my skills, and definitely that's paying off.
Yeah, I think that at the end of it, we were watching you, and you had a good 2 seconds on the field. And man, when you get some clean air and you're running a 2-second split like that, you've got the pace to win the thing. And sure enough, you just kind of drove away with it. So congratulations. Do you have any shout outs or thank yous you'd like to give? The floor is yours, friend.
Yes, I already said Stephen Case, but it doesn't hurt saying it again. Of course, Jason Cotcher for organizing the leagues, and Tyler for the support that he provides. And I know there is a bunch of other people helping him. Also, it's a mildly annoying. He keeps finding these people that are super fast, and it makes me makes the rest of us step up. I mean, I think on that race, I end up setting, like compared with when I was practicing last Saturday, I ended up setting a second a lap faster, so I could actually be up there, because these guys were like, they were setting low 201s. It's like, how the heck are they setting those laps? I was setting a 202 over the weekend. But yeah, it's both annoying and very encouraging to have such a first competition. And of course, big thank you for my wife to take care of the baby, so I can race during the evenings while she is dealing with the little gremlin.
Well, that's a smart man to make sure that you get that thank you in there. Congratulations, Jose. Congratulations on the first win and a truly impressive victory out there in hot and difficult conditions in Miami. So congrats, friend.
Thank you very much. See you next week.
See you next week in Mexico City. Ron, who would you like to talk to next?
I think I'm going to have a chat with Jacob Guyton, who had a pretty good race in his own right. Jacob Guyton now joining us here in the broadcast booth. Jacob, welcome in. That race looked like a wild one, and you found yourself in the thick of certainly some odd moments here at Miami. How was the race from your perspective?
Certainly an odd one. For a first race of the season, I gladly welcome some chaos. Hopefully we'll figure out some of that, but yeah, I found myself kind of getting caught behind a couple of oopsies of others, and fell on my back foot and just tried to keep position and overtake where I could, but yeah, I just scrounged up what I could and got P3, so I can't really be too happy about that.
Yeah, no, all in all, I feel like today was just more of a game of survival for the opening race of the season, just trying to be there at the very end and comb your way through the chaos of what was a just an overall a tricky race to try. Now, I want to ask you about this track, because there's really nothing like the Miami Autodrome. It's pretty flat. It's called a street circuit, even though we only run on one public road that existed before this track was built. It's a pretty odd place. How did you find it here in these F4s?
It would have. I personally do like Miami, it being a fake street circuit and all. It kind of has the vibe of a street circuit, but then you go to somewhere like Adelaide, like we did last season, or St. Petersburg, and you start realizing how much of not it is a street circuit. But in the F4, it's not too bad. A lot of slip angle, a lot of just modulating those tires, or but the heat is what really added that extra factor of control. Just soft on those brakes on the braking zones, and easy on the throttle exiting. One little move, and I'm sure we saw it today on the broadcast, and it's you're doing donuts in front of the people in front of you, and I found it a lot of fun, and I was comfortable here, but just couldn't make it really work. And yeah, it's a tough one to start off with. It really is.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure whether this was a trial by fire or a trial by firing squad to start off this season, but it was certainly a rough one. Next time out, though, I'm not really sure if things are going to get it. Yeah, probably a steady mix of the both. Next time out, though, we're going to be running at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, Mexico City, the F1 track down there in Mexico. What are your thoughts heading there?
Not a big fan of that track. I think the stadium little chicane is really neat, but not a big fan of the track. I think the whole I guess I'll say gimmick of that circuit is that it's so high up in the altitude that you don't have downforce, so it creates some unique adaptations that you need to get used to. But yeah, another track that I'll just have to kind of grit through and get back to my get to my more favorite tracks, like Road Atlanta the week afterwards. Lime Rock should be a crazy one. Interlagos, Watkins, and this season's jam packed full of really good tracks. Unfortunately, my least favorite is Hermanos Rodriguez.
Yeah, no, the problem with that track is it's just so high up in the atmosphere that you really don't have much to do with it. Even in these low downforce cars, the downforce just basically goes down to zero. But either way, we hope to see you out there on the racetrack next time out, Jacob. But before we let you go and celebrate this podium finish, we'll let you give any thank yous or shout outs.
Thank you for everyone here at SMB for putting on this broadcast for everyone. Thank you to my girlfriend and my family for watching. And as always, SRG for including me and looking forward to our future endurance races. And yeah, just let's keep on racing.
Oh, there we go, Jacob. Thank you for joining us here in the booth, and we hope to see you next time out there in Mexico City.
You'll see me.
Yep, sounds like a plan. That right there was Jacob Guyton, our P3 finisher. James, I'll pass the mic off to you to have a chat with our 4th place finisher. And driver's still learning the ropes here in this championship and learning them quite quickly. That being Henry Ryback.
Yes, Mr. Ryback, are you with us there?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Hello. Well, you had pace all day. It was a little chaotic out there for you, but you managed to work your way back up to a position befitting of a driver with your speed, and that was 4th place. You're new to the SRG community. How did you enjoy the race today?
I mean, it was a bit it was a bit frustrating being hit by Damien, but I looked at the replay and he didn't really have the brakes. He locked up, so I won't blame him for that. And then I, of course, had my own spin later in the tight area of the track. So I'm a little frustrated, but I'm not very angry about it. And P4 is still a good recovery drive, so I'm really happy with it. I'm happy with the result.
Yeah, I think as far as a points result goes, you've done quite well. It's difficult sometimes to throw those stones in the glass houses when you get hit by somebody else, but then have an unfortunate incident later. It was difficult out there. Was it the drivers? Was it the heat? Was it the layout of the track that just doesn't have real runoffs in many places? What was the most difficult part for you today?
I think the track being so narrow, but then I think after those first 2 lap incidents, it went pretty smoothly. So I think it wasn't like anything of those 3 that really contributed to any real problems, but I think mostly the track was the bigger problem of the 3.
Yeah, it can be difficult out there in some of these more challenging tracks. You're going to be going to Mexico City next. Do you have any experience with that track?
I do, but not much. Last time I drove it was like in the beginning of the year, in the beginning of this 2026 season. So, and that was with the Formula 3 car. So, not with the Formula 4 car. So we'll see. I'll be practicing a bunch.
Well, I think you should enjoy it. It's a good track. I think it might be a little bit more designed for the F4, but at the same time, it's not really designed for anything. As we've said a few times, with that kind of altitude, it can cause havoc on some of the downforce dependent cars. How about any thank yous or shout outs or anything you want to give? The floor is yours.
I think I want to give my thank you or shout out to I don't know really. Probably just the friends who may be watching and my family.
Absolutely, those are always good ones. You got any hidden sponsors in your back pocket that you might have forgotten about? I'll give you a little reminder. Nobody likes to forget the sponsors.
Well, the story about that livery, the no cap soda pop, it's not really my sponsor. So there's a guy, Arturo. He had AGSR Sim Sports. He contacted me last year and said, do you want to drive my F4 livery? I'm building a community. And I said yes, of course. And then since I like McLaren, he made a McLaren inspired livery with the white and orange. And I've just been using that ever since. And it's been very kind of him for doing that for me. But yeah, so it's not really my sponsor, but still,
Well, it's nonetheless, it's a fantastic livery, and you can throw it out to the no cap. Thank you very much, Henry, and congratulations on 4th place. Even though it was frustrating, that'll put some points in your pocket for the season. So good start to this season, and congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right, Ron. Well, this was the opener to the SRG season 3 for 2026. Do you have any closing thoughts to this one?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm not sure whether this is a right thing to say, but we are definitely living La Vida Loca here in this race, as Ricky Martin would probably put it. This was a wild, crazy way to get the season up and rolling. Just part 1 of an 11-part story to come to complete this season. We've still got some awesome tracks to look forward to. Mexico City next time out. That is going to be a really wild race. And we still got some amazing tracks to look forward to. All the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Miami, though, was one heck of a way to kick off this summer stretch.
Absolutely. And so I think we've got a few upcoming things here. We've got Wednesday, the SRG F3 Advanced League is going to be at Barcelona. Then we have next week, Tuesday, we have mentioned this, at Mexico for the F4s. And then the F3s will be going to Red Bull Ring. I'll be taking part in that one. And then we have the Street Nights Racing. It's going to be at Watkins Glen on Thursday, the 25th. And then we go back to SRG for Tuesday. The F4s are going to be at Road Atlanta. The F3s will be at Silverstone. And then we have the American Muscle Series, Sandown. That's going to be Tuesday, July 7th at 6 p.m. And Tuesday, July 7th, the F4s will be at Lime Rock. So that's what's going to be coming up here. And I think that's going to be about it for us. So thank you very much for watching Slow Motion Broadcasting's production of the Sim Racers Group F4 Intermediate League. On behalf of the legend Ron Maunz and producer Josh Wilkie in the truck, I am James McDonald, and I wish you happy hairpins and clear straights.